Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aya Antonovska, and my project is called People of the Blue Green Water, the Havasupai Tribe, and their complicated relationship with the National Park Service. So before I get started, I'm going to show you a short little video on a Havasupai tribal member, and in this video, she explains what the Grand Canyon means to her.
My name is Colleen Casca. I'm a member of the Havasupai tribe. My people, Havasupaja, which means people of the blue green waters. My parents have always told me about this area when I was growing up in the village of Supai. Right now, the National Park Service is celebrating their centennial year of 100 years being a national park. But for my people and other tribes surrounding this area, it's really not a celebration. Once it became a national park, my people were restricted from this area. An area south of here called the Red Butte area, we use that. It is our place of emergence, whereas when the world was flooded with so much water, they put this little girl in a canoe or a boat where she floated for days. But that's where she landed at Red Butte, the top of Red Butte. So that is our place of emergence. And Red Butte area for my people is a traditional cultural property. To this day, anybody, any president, whoever is in charge can easily change that with a stroke of a pen.
Okay, so before I go even further with my presentation, I want to give you some background information on how my project came to be. I've always had a passion for traveling, and I'm the daughter of an immigrant. So since my childhood, I've been around different cultures and always appreciated them. I'm very proud to be half Macedonian. And for these reasons, I chose to study history at Brevard College. During my sophomore year, I decided to add English as a second major. When I began to talk with Dr. Brown about project ideas, she suggested that I do a travel blog. And this idea immediately appealed to me because I love traveling. And so when the pandemic arrived, I was kind of unsure how I was going to proceed with this project. But my friend, my boyfriend, and I came up with the idea of going on a road trip out west and seeing some national parks. And these are my friends and my boyfriend pictured here. We camped for 3 weeks, and one of the places that we stopped was Grand Canyon National Park. So sitting, not standing near the edge as you can see here, because I have a very bad fear of heights, I wondered about the history of this place, but I also wondered about the people who had lived here before it became a national park. Thus, I decided to focus my project on the Havasupai tribe and their story. To incorporate both of my majors, I had to utilize skills that I have acquired over the past 4 years. And to include my literary emphasis, I wrote 8 blog posts on Havasupai legends, Havasupai religion, and their oral histories. I also wrote some blog posts on historical research as well. So the titles of those blog posts are called Ancient Pueblo Peoples, Havasupai Religion, Havasupai Legends, Havasupai Sam, Grand Canyon Becomes a National Park, The Fight for the Return of Havasupai Land. I also did a book review of Eye of the Grand Canyon, and a post on education on the Havasupai Reservation. To include my history major, I wrote a research essay that specifically focused on the National Park Service and their complicated relationship with the Havasupai tribe. I researched other tribes as well, such as the Yosemite National Park, the Ute of Mesa Verde National Park, and the Blackfeet of Glacier National Park, as well as some tribes in Alaska and the Great Smoky Mountains. These tribes are all affected by the establishment of national parks in some way. And my main argument in my paper is that national parks are America's crown jewels, and it's a great thing that this land was preserved for all time, but preserving this land came at a cost, and that cost was usually at the expense of another group of people. The Havasupai tribe, they call themselves the people of the blue green water. The Havasupai tribe has lived inside the Grand Canyon for over 800 years. They emerged in this area of Arizona in the 1300s. They are a tribe that are descended from a human-speaking group from the lower Colorado River river that archaeologists call the Purgop. This group spoke the Hopiam language, which is the same language that the Havasupai speak today. The Havasupai's ancestors made brush shelters, just like the Havasupai did into the 20th century. And the picture here on this slide is of the Havasupai tribal member, and behind them you can see the brush shelter. Their arrival story to the Grand Canyon tells of a great migration that began near modern-day Blythe, California, which you see right here on this map. This is the zoomed out version so you can get a better look at it. Their journey went northeast, passing through modern-day Kingman, Arizona. They stayed close along the Colorado River on their journey until they eventually came upon Havasu Creek, which is located on the reservation today at Havasu Canyon. And as you can see, that's that section of California, and they literally went straight up this way. I wanted to include some pictures as well. This is Havasu Creek on the reservation, and this is one of 5 waterfalls that they have on the reservation as well. So the Havasupai have many legends, many of them including animals, tales of bravery, or nature things, as most Native American legends do. I'm going to read 2 short legends that can be found on my blog, Adventures with Aya, at WordPress.com, in my post on Havasupai legends. The first one is called Havasu Canyon Walls Closing Up. The legend surrounding Havasu Canyon and its walls closing up has 3 versions. In the first version, Coyote said that long ago the walls of Havasu Canyon used to close and open so that no one could come down into the canyon. Many people were crushed between these walls. Then 2 boys came down with arrows and tried to stop the walls from closing. They shot arrows at the walls, and this stopped them from closing. After this, people could pass safely through the canyon. The second legend that I'm going to read is called Frog Rock. Frog Rock is a Havasupai story that concerns a rock formation on top of Redwall limestone near Supai village. The legend goes that a frog came from the ocean in the west looking for a good place to stay. He crossed the Colorado River and then spent 4 more nights jumping around and playing close to the river. He took about a month more to arrive in Havasu Canyon. He was ready to jump when he saw the river below. He was on the very edge of the rim when he turned to stone and could not jump anymore. When President Theodore Roosevelt visited the canyon in 1903, he told his fellow Americans that in Arizona they have a natural wonder which is absolutely unparalleled throughout the rest of the world. He then continued, saying that the land should never be blemished by the hands of humans. Leave it as it is, he said. You cannot improve on it. The ages have been at work on it, and man can only mar it. This is the ideology that eventually led to the establishment of Grand Canyon National Park. By the 1830s, European fur trappers had entered this part of Arizona. By the 1870s, miners, railroad surveyors, and tourists had flooded into the state of Arizona. By 1882, the Havasupai had been placed on a 518-acre reservation by President Chester Arthur. As with other national parks, Native Americans were seldom mentioned by the Park Service in early days. A report from 1932 mentions the Havasupai once on a singular page out of 7 volumes. However, the Havasupai did work for the park by working on trails and in construction. Through these jobs, a residential camp formed called Supai Village. By the 1950s, efforts were underway to get rid of Supai Village. Through the formation of the park, the tribe had also lost their hunting rights on the upper plateau lands surrounding the canyon. For these reasons, the tribe hired a lawyer because by 1970, Grand Canyon National Park was planning on expanding for tourism. The National Park Service had come up with what they called a master plan for the Grand Canyon National Park. There was a problem with this plan, however, for the Havasupai tribe. The map that was part of the plan showed no existence of the Havasupai reservation. Rather, the park was going to incorporate it into the park itself. For the Havasupai, this meant losing more of their ancestral lands and still no hunting rights. Over the next 5 years, the Havasupais Tribal Council would go back and forth, putting in time and effort to stand up for themselves. Finally, after a very long battle, the Havasupais bill was voted on as to whether they should have land returned to them or not. The bill passed with 180 votes in favor and 147 against. The Havasupai had achieved one of the most important victories in Native American history because over 100,000 acres of land were returned to them. To this day, this is the largest amount of land that has ever been returned to a Native American tribe. Today, their peaceful lifestyle still persists in the Grand Canyon 800 years after they first appeared there. So I included this map because I wanted to show you just how big Grand Canyon National Park is. And again, here's the Havasupai Indian Reservation. They were going to take all of this and put it into the park for tourism. Today, in modern times, the Havasupai, as well as other southwestern tribes, have not stopped in their battle to protect the Grand Canyon and its sacred lands. In February of this year, 21 tribes came together under the Intertribal Association to take a stand against uranium mining in the Grand Canyon. And this is a document that they assembled here in really, really fine print. Right there is the Havasupai tribe. They have also intervened on issues concerning building dams and have come up with a motion as of August 2020. The Navajo, the Hopi, and the Hualapai, who are the Havasupai sister tribe, were all a part of this motion. If successful, these dams could threaten the Little Colorado River. And this is the motion right here. The Havasupai tribe also wrote a resolution in support of the Grand Canyon Centennial Protection Act, which is a piece of legislation aimed at protecting 1 million acres of public lands adjacent to Grand Canyon National Park from uranium mining. As of October in 2019, the act passed through the U.S. House of Representatives, and now the issue seems to be more over water resources and contamination. So here we have my sources. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Anybody?
I think, isn't the new Secretary of Interior Native American?
Yes.
Have you read any comments from Native Americans about her and that and being a good sign? Or
I've been reading articles about it. I know that was actually kind of a question earlier that was asked. I know that she is working to restore Bears Ears and Grand Escalante as national monuments. And just from what I've seen on social media, it appears that a lot of Native Americans are happy that they have a voice. They feel that they finally have somebody to speak for them in the governor. So, any other questions? Great, thanks.